Ladies and gentlemen, the Doctor Doom Victorious patch notes have dropped. Now, this is going to be a rolling patch happening tonight as of 8 p.m. Pacific or around 11 p.m. Eastern. However, these updates tend to be a little bit earlier. Now, keep in mind, this is not an update with maintenance. There's no downtime. All you'll have to do is just close your game if you're playing it and reopen it, and you'll be prompted to download the patch. Then once enough people have downloaded the patch, the uniforms will be available for purchase and you can go about your day. So you still want to save a couple of world boss runs for Victorious and for Doctor Doom, but other than that, you're good to go. We will be live here on YouTube a little bit ahead of schedule, around 8:30 p.m. So 2 to 3 hours before the update drops, and I'll be dropping. Well, I'll be playing. I won't be dying. I'll be playing Elden Ring. So come by the stream, check it out. That'll be sort of like the waiting room for the MFF update. Now, as far as the patch notes go, we can see here this Doctor Doom does look a lot like God Emperor Doom with just a few, accents, as we thought from the sneak peek. Now, he remains all the normal stuff, universal villain. They misspelled human as Humar, or I think it just got cut off. I'm not sure. He keeps his abilities the same. He keeps his uniform effect the same. This was the first thing that I saw when I woke up and I read this, and I was surprised. I was like, wow, they didn't change anything. It's 40% damage reduction, reduces reflect by 60%, and increases chain hit by 15. Like, I suspected in the video when we talked about this a couple days ago, maybe he would get 5% more chain hit. But then I realized they actually did change it. They changed it so that it no longer has to trigger when he uses his remove debuff effect. It's just active all the time now. So for some players, this won't have as big of an effect, but I think for the majority of players, this will have a massive effect. This will really be a noticeable difference, because rather than being active only when it triggers for 18 seconds out of 20 seconds, it's now just active all the time regardless. So yeah, I do think that is quite nice. They did take away his ignore dodge, so he loses 50% ignore dodge, which is important to note for future PvP builds. But that's about it. Otherwise, they've made him more consistent. As far as his ultimate skill, it seems very, very similar, almost the same as before. I'm not sure why they changed it. All they did is they changed the accumulation from damage received to damage dealt. And we'll talk about that in a second when we get to his accumulation. His tier 2 passive is literally identical, so there's nothing to talk about there. And then his skills here. His Emperor's Fist, Power of Destruction, Emperor's Magic, Emperor's Swarm, and Tyranny. All 5 of these skills look good. They don't have any crazy long cooldowns. The longest is 18 seconds on his 5th skill, but it's not like 20 seconds or whatever that you have to worry about with the old uniforms, because I believe his old 5th skill was 25 seconds. Yeah, so that was the one thing I didn't mention in the video about Doom, is they had to fix his cooldowns, because he was very annoying to play in any kind of PvE content because of how long the cooldown was on his 5th skill. They have fixed that. Reducing the cooldown by 7 seconds is humongous. However, we do have to say a little prayer for the V-Pad skill. It is gone. The 3rd skill, V-Pad, is no more, unless they just forgot to mention it in Emperor's Magic. Staying exactly the same is the 2nd skill, Counterattack, Ignore Iframe. They've kept it the same. We'll have to see. Like I said, counterattack skills are difficult to code, and they have, spotty, inconsistent targeting. So we'll have to wait and see how good Dr. Doom's is. I like counterattack skills because they're cool, but they're also hard to get right. They've added in 4 seconds of immunity that he didn't have before, and then they've changed his accumulation. Instead of being damage received, it's now damage dealt. So he's going to get less of a ramp because the percentages are lower on damage dealt versus damage received, but he's going to be so much more consistent to play, right? So I think this is overall a net positive for Dr. Doom. Again, some fans who played him all the time and were really good playing with him. I know Godzillinator somewhere is like, damn it, because he was really good at playing Doom and accumulating all that damage taken. I'm in the camp of making him easier to play. I think making the characters easier to play, making them more intuitive, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I think they need to be built like Sharon Rogers if they're going to be damage taken, right? It needs to be so obvious, so easy, so clean. So yeah, they also added 5 seconds of invincibility. Believe it or not, the old Doom uniform didn't have invincibility or immunity. It's actually crazy. Actually, no, I lied. He had invincibility on his 3rd skill, but he had no immunity. So yeah, they moved the invincibility from the 3rd skill to the 4th skill, and they added the immunity. And then they have this 40% heal on the 5th skill, and they have incapacitation everywhere. He didn't have incapacitation on all of his skills before. He had it just on 1 skill. Yeah, he had incapacitation on just his second skill, and now he has incapacitation on like 4 skills or 3 skills. So they have added a lot of stuff for him. They've added some buffs and stuff like that. They kept the 45% attack buff, etc. So yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot of changes for Doom, but I do think these are like intentional changes. We'll have to wait and see how well he plays, but I do think this is going to make him easier to play. It's going to make him more consistent, and hopefully we can get that sort of like hybrid role for him where he's good for PvE and PvP, because obviously, I mean, he's obviously going to be good for PvP, but yeah, hopefully he's good for PvE. And then for Victorious, remember, this is her first uniform, so this is going to be massive for her, absolutely massive. And for Victorious, her uniform effect is now going to give her super armor, all defense, and 30% damage reduction. That's relevant because they're actually getting rid of her passive. That's right. They're converting Victorious. They're converting her from a, I believe, if I'm understanding it, they're converting her from a character with only 4 skills and 2 passives, or 3 actually, to a traditional character with 5 skills. So yeah. So yeah, her uniform effect, damage reduction, and super armor, all defense. Her leadership stays pretty much the same, 35% attack to all allies, but then 65 to Doom. So you can give Doom 100% energy attack or 100% attack if you use her lead, which is nice, but there's no damage reduction for Doom, but I actually think this is better. Her passive actually gets better. It's 40% HP to all allies instead of 30, which is pretty nuts. And now she has a flat 20% chance to penetrate all abilities, you know, super armor, barrier, shield, immune. And then she keeps the guaranteed crit rate. So they have tweaked her a little bit. 20% is pretty low for PvP. We'll have to see. But on the plus side, it is a flat chance. So you don't have to worry about destruction CTPs. You don't have to worry about any of that crap. As far as her skills go, she is still dealing damage based on HP. So she's still HP scaling just like Hulk, which is very, very nice. She has immunity on her second skill to the tune of 3 seconds. She has a frenzy buff on her third skill, which is nice. Her fourth skill gives her 5 seconds of invincibility, and it keeps the 100% max HP. Plus, she now has a 15% HP heal. And then her fifth skill gives her a barrier. Now, the HP heal, you would think, doesn't she deal more? Doesn't she have a passive where she deals more damage when she's below 50% HP? And that was her old passive called Last Resort. And you can see here, original skill, Last Resort. They're converting her passive into an active skill. So before Victorious, she would use the 100% increased max HP from her fourth skill buff, and she would get an HP shield. She lost the HP shield, which is a rip, but she would use that 100% increased max HP to go down to 50% so that her passive would trigger, giving her guaranteed crit rate, 60% guaranteed crit rate, and then give her 50% penetration. Now, it was clunky because if she went over 50% again, the buff would go away, right? And the penetration, although it was 50%, which is bigger than 20%, it was only for super armor and barrier. So she couldn't penetrate shield, immune, or invincible. So I think this is better. And now she only has 30% guaranteed crit rate instead of 60%, but she still has she still has 30% guaranteed crit rate, which is very nice. And it's consistent now, right? It applies all the time. I believe the only ability that she lost that's like gone, if I'm reading this right, I'm not 100% sure though. Maybe it's not. Maybe no, you know what? I think she's keeping this one. She's keeping her other passive, her tier 2 passive, that gives her crit damage, that gives her guaranteed dodge, and gives her a chance to increase her crit rate above 100%, right? 30% chance to increase it by 100% over the cap of 200. I think she's keeping that. So that's still very, very good. And 30% guaranteed crit rate is good. So anyways, long story short, what I'm trying to say is I think they've made some good, meaningful, balanced changes to Victorious. I think some people are going to be, some people would have preferred her to keep the flavor of only having 4 skills, but I think this is good. I think these changes are going to make her feel more normal to play, more, friendly, like familiar to play kind of thing. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm actually pretty happy. The only thing I can really lament is the loss of that HP shield, but I think they're giving her a lot of other weapons to sort of make up for that. And the heal is the big one, right? Because that was the basic issue with Victorious is she has no way of healing, because if you heal, then you lose that buff. So it was kind of stupid to have that situation there. And then you also couldn't give her any CTP that had healing, right? So you can't go anywhere near, a refinement or any of these other CTPs. You can't go anywhere near team up abilities or whatever that would give her any kind of healing, because that would ruin things. So yeah, I think this is much better. Doom's tier 4. This is probably where the creativity just took a hiatus or a vacation. He gets 40% attack buff when he pop his tier 4. He recovers HP by 15% for 7 seconds, which is very nice. He recovers a lot of HP. And then he gets his energy attack increased by 20% every second, up to 60%. So he gets an attack buff, a heal, and then another attack buff. It's just reads really boring. They really need to address this. I don't know. It just seems really boring. I don't know. I think they need to work a little bit harder with these tier 4 skills, but hey, that's just me. Victorious gets her tier 3. It looks pretty good. The animation is nice. It's very like physical. She's very in your face. Even though she's not dealing physical damage, she's dealing energy damage. She's just twirling around that spear thing, that pole arm she has. It looks cool. It looks kind of Dark Soulsy. It looks pretty nice. It looks like an Ash of War. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls. And then we have the 2 new artifacts. Doctor Doom's artifact, to the surprise of some people, I guess. I see some people upset that Doctor Doom's artifact is not better. I don't know how people didn't expect or didn't anticipate this. They gave him the same artifact that they gave, let's see now, Gore, Kang, Jean, and like so many other native tier 2s. They all have this artifact. Increased damage to heroes, increased damage to villains. Increased damage to heroes, increased damage to villains. Doesn't Odin have this one as well? No, he doesn't. He is just super villains. But anyways, this is a very, very common artifact for native tier 2s. Very, very common. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all that they get. I think they also gave that to Black Swan. So yeah, it's just a very, very common, even native tier 3s. Yep, they gave that to Black Swan. So yeah, it's all the same, baby. It's all the same. And then Victorious's is actually a support artifact, all universal allies. So it doesn't matter if it's a hero or a villain. So this applies to Sentry, applies to Thanos, applies to Surfer. Ignore dodge 15%, and then increase basic attack. So pretty nice here. I think it's possible to make a PvP team with Doom and Victorious. We'll have to wait and see how good Victorious is. She doesn't have iframe ignore, it seems, but a lot of support buffs, right? 40% HP plus the artifact, plus if she is tanky enough, right? Because remember, she deals damage based on HP. So she could deal enough damage. She scales her HP by 100%. That could be enough. And then that's it. They just fixed a bug where characters would get stuck auto-playing stage 4-1 in the story mode, which is good. But yeah, pretty light on the update here, but that's okay because we got another update coming very, very soon. I'll be live tonight, so do not miss it. We're probably going to try to one-shot Doom Tier 4, Usain Bolt style. So yeah, do not miss that. Do not miss the day 1 world first Tier 4 Doctor Doom. Anyways, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the content. I'll see you tonight on the live stream. Do not miss it. Take care.